Good afternoon, everyone. My name is J.W. Walker. I'm an organizer with the Queer Liberation March and the Reclaim Pride Coalition. On Sunday, after our extraordinarily beautiful march, which went off without a hitch all the way from Bryant Park down 7th Avenue and into Washington Square Park, after our marchers had had a moment to celebrate together, to experience each other in community, once again, as with last year's march, we were set upon by the NYPD and their strategic response group. This is an ongoing problem with the strategic response group specifically targeting Black and brown and indigenous and immigrant-led protests throughout the city for many years, but especially over the last year during this period of racial reckoning for Black lives that we've had across the country. These attacks against queer demonstrators are not unique to New York, nor are they unique to the globe. Over the course of the last few days, we have seen two separate attacks by government forces against queer demonstrators in Ankara and in Istanbul, Turkey. These are all part and parcel of the same thing, the global rise of totalitarianism and authoritarianism. Today, several members and organizers with the Queer Liberation March will speak to our experiences with the violence that we saw committed by NYPD on Sunday. On Sunday, I heard that an NYPD officer had pepper sprayed a large group of people in front of the arch. A friend who had witnessed it came over and told me. I came over to see what was going on. What I was met with was hostility by the supervisors in white shirts at the NYPD, a refusal to have any sort of discussion or to discuss any possibility of de-escalating the situation. Shortly thereafter, a group of NYPD officers attacked and grabbed and arrested people who were simply standing on the sidewalk, not into the street. I saw up close and personal officers throw a young woman down onto the hot pavement, and after they had handcuffed her, to which she was not resisting at all, they began to drag her bare skin of her legs across the hot pavement before other people who were present intervened and demanded that they stop. I'm going to stop with my account right now, and I'm going to introduce you to Ash Tifa, who is a lawyer and activist, a community organizer in Brooklyn. Ash served as the lead bike marshal for our Queer Liberation March and was actively involved in the de-escalation of the NYPD's violent tactics that took place here at the Arch. Ash.
Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ash. That's A-S-H. I use she and they pronouns. I'm a proud trans woman, and I was brought onto the Queer Liberation March's safety team as lead bike marshal. My role is all about keeping us safe. Police were told not to attend this march because we know they do not keep us safe. Tens of thousands took to the streets of New York City on Sunday to celebrate our queerness, our love, our existence. A lot of us step out as a celebration, but it's important to remember our freedoms and our liberty are not guaranteed. Not only are states introducing and passing legislation that attack trans youth, Black trans people, particularly women, are being murdered at alarmingly high rates all over the United States. We are actively fighting for our liberation, and our LGBTQIA2 Soul Plus liberation has to be tied to Black liberation specifically. And we experienced firsthand why on Sunday. During the march, and when we got to Washington Square Park, even though we had 50,000 people take to the streets of Manhattan, shut it down, there was no violence. There was no public safety issues that we needed the police for. We keep us safe. That is until the police instigated violence themselves yet again. They complain in the media, press conferences, and New York Times editorials when we say no cops at Pride. Yet when they show up anyway, what happens? The NYPD attacks queer people celebrating Pride. The events that transpired Sunday night at the north end of this park, militarized agents of the state attacking queer and trans black people with pepper spray, kidnapping people off the sidewalk, and assembling a small army, roughly 300 cops brought in from precincts all over the city, in riot gear, batons out and readied, the mobilization of the Counterterrorism Unit, the SRG, and militarized vehicles acquired through the 1033 program, all to turn Lower Manhattan into their own personal war zone. This is truly emblematic of what has been happening on a daily basis in this city. The NYPD serving no other purpose than to violently trample the rights of those most vulnerable. Sunday night, we were not here to fight with cops. We want to be able to celebrate our lives without their presence because we know this is what they do. Even if you personally have not experienced the brutality firsthand, hear me. The cops are not to be trusted. This same police department endorsed Trump last year. Members of this New York City Police Department were at the January 6th insurrection attempt, storming the halls of Congress. The person in charge of workplace discrimination at the NYPD, Deputy Inspector James Coble, was fired last winter after a city council investigation found he posted racist messages on far-right forums. There's a reason Brian Downey and the Gay Officers Action League have remained silent about the violence the NYPD has committed against this community. They do not hide their contempt for us. It is clear what they symbolize, what they prioritize, and what they protect. It is not public safety. It is upholding the heteronormative, patriarchal, white supremacist colonial state because they profit off our collective pain. This is not new for a lot of us. Yet people were surprised and straight up didn't believe mere minutes after this happened. This happens every week to the Stonewall protests. It is what the NYPD has always done. We are out here today and all this month because queer and trans black people had to fight against this same police department from terrorizing their community. I am an abolitionist. I truly believe in a world without police and without prisons. None of this is normal. We do not have to accept this violence. We can do better. Let's have a real conversation about allocation of funds. The budget is being voted on this week. Why does the NYPD have an operating budget of $11 billion a year when teachers can't pay for supplies? The NYPD can have robot dogs abusing black and brown communities in NYCHA buildings, but sanitation has been completely defunded in the outer boroughs. Why? We can choose to invest in resources for our communities. Let's have a real conversation about accountability. We need to pass State Senate Bill S-1991 and Assembly Bill A-4331, which would end qualified immunity, a legal doctrine that shields officers from being personally responsible for their misconduct. We need to end the PBA's lobbying power in all elections, local, state, and federal, especially if Eric Adams ends up winning the mayoral race. Pat Lynch, president of the PBA, has demonized BLM protesters, comparing us to terrorists on multiple occasions. He has openly encouraged his ranks to commit acts of violence against us, acts that once again were realized on Sunday. He is a threat to public safety. Dermot Shea, commissioner of the NYPD, needs to resign immediately and be held accountable for overseeing and enabling the mass abuse of human rights on the people of New York. The people of this city will continue to resist white supremacy, homophobia, transphobia, and fascism as it rises all over this country and among the ranks of the NYPD. We stand in solidarity with all those across the world fighting oppression. From the recent events in Ankara and all across Turkey, to Palestine, to Colombia and Puerto Rico, I believe we will win. Thank you all. Have a nice day. Fuck 12. Thank you.
Thank you, Ash.
IFA. Thank you.
Thank you, Ash. Now I'd like to call up Carly Rhodes, who has been an organizer with Reclaim Pride and the Queer Liberation March for 3 years. Carly also witnessed the attack that took place here in front of the arch.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Jay. Thank you, Ash. My name is Carly, spelled C-A-R-L-I, Rhodes, R-H-O-A-D-E-S. I'm an organizer with the Reclaim Pride Coalition in NYC, and I have worked in varying capacities on all 3 of the queer liberation marches held here in NYC. I was in Washington Square Park on Sunday evening, lounging in the grass with my friends, family, and the entire community. I received a call asking me to come immediately to, and I quote, the same spot we were last year, right here in front of the arch on the north side of the park. I saw over 100 NYPD officers standing off with peaceful pride goers, more and more, hundreds more streaming in with riot gear and bicycles, nightsticks drawn. I saw absolutely nothing unruly or unlawful, not even loud music, and the police presence was completely unnecessary, entirely over the top, nothing but a show of power and intimidation. After a community member fainted, cops violently swarmed the rest of the community as the medics tended to them in the middle of the intersection. 2 separate cops tried to physically move me from a circle, preventing someone from being trampled. I must repeat that the NYPD's presence was entirely unnecessary and only served to escalate and cause violence in a crowd of peaceful, chill, and joyful Pride attendees. All of this happening on Sunday and every weekend, every evening in New York City, while the NYPD's budget is set to increase, nothing could be farther from keeping the people of New York City safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Carly. I'm not sure if it was picked up by your sound, but the NYPD has now set up a camera in front of the arch with a sound system on a loop that periodically warns people that we are somehow trespassing here in Washington Square Park, a public park that is here for all New Yorkers. I want to pause for a moment and talk a little bit about the Strategic Response Group and their tactics that were used on Sunday. What the Strategic Response Group does at protests is that they create provocative situations in hopes that they will create an aggressive response from protesters so that they can then initiate a violent, aggressive response to those protesters. That is what the SRG tried to do on Sunday to us by attacking a small group of people who were standing on the east sidewalk of Fifth Avenue. They hoped that the rest of the crowd would become enraged and violent, and that would give them an excuse to commit more atrocious violence. Fortunately, community members and marshals from the Queer Liberation March and organizers like Carly, like Ash, like myself, and others who are not here today worked to de-escalate the situation so that we would not give the NYPD the theater that they wanted to put out into the world to cast themselves as the heroes stopping a bunch of violent protesters. We would not allow it to happen, and we did not allow it to happen. These sorts of actions by SRG and by the NYPD all across the city, going back 7 years when the SRG was repurposed from focusing on terrorism, which was their original purpose, to focusing on the Black Lives Matter movement, which happened to take off in a big way the same year that SRG was founded. The results of this have been hundreds of lawsuits against the NYPD for excessive force, for brutally limiting people's free speech rights, and money coming out of the pockets of taxpayers of New York City. We are calling on the mayor and the police commissioner to either completely disband SRG or repurpose them back to their original purpose, which was fighting terrorism. They do not keep anyone safe. They do not protect our communities. They only serve to antagonize and commit violence against peaceful and nonviolent protesters standing up for the rights of the most marginalized communities in the city and in this country. Next, I'd like to call up Ann Northrup, who frankly needs no introduction.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming. I'm Ann Northrup, ANNNORTHROP. It's very simple. Whether you believe in abolishing the NYPD or not, the fact is they are not helping anybody these days. They are only hurting. They come here to attack to justify their bloated budget. And the result is injuries, trauma, and violence against us from them. The mayor does nothing. He increases their budget. He should be standing up and saying these tactics have to stop. These tactics are costing the city hundreds of millions of dollars in lawsuits and ruining the city's relationship with its citizens. We cannot stand for these attacks from the NYPD. It has to stop.
Thank you, Ann. And now we'll take questions if anyone has anything. Hello.
Just real quickly, how many arrests were made today that we know about?
The specific instance that happened here at approximately 7 o'clock, I believe that 4 people were arrested, and to my knowledge, they were all released, and we are demanding that all charges be dropped against them, and that we extend our hand to any of those folks who were arrested for any assistance that they might need. Hello?
You had said that the organizers and the marshals had de-escalated the situation, which is a blatant lie. What we do know is that frontline protesters were pepper sprayed, and then your organization offered no support for aftercare or jail support. Do you want to speak on that?
Yes, there were already a group of standing activists who had experience in jail support that volunteered to do jail support.
That's a lie.
No, it's not. And our organizers and our marshals were absolutely upfront, including this marshal, this organizer, other marshals were present in the square after the pepper spraying event. So, thank you. Any other questions?
Hospitalized for their injuries?
Pardon me?
Anybody hospitalized for their injuries?
I have not heard about anyone hospitalized for their injuries. And so...
Because you don't know them, but we do know them, so we can actually answer that
Okay,
question.
if
Because
you'd
the
like
people
to.
that got arrested were our friends.
Okay.
So we're here to say that you guys did not get arrested that night. That's why the people that got arrested should have been here representing themselves. What I'm here to say is the white people cannot represent black and brown people. What I'm here to say is that those activists have been on your Instagram reaching out to try and have a conversation
No,
with you
they've been
guys.
reaching out, screaming and yelling and insulting
About all
and
the
carrying
accusations.
on.
Yes, we want accountability. As the community of New York City, we want accountability. So we are here demanding accountability.
What-
Yes, what they said about abolishing the police, about everything that they're saying, 100% on point. Fuck the NYPD. They are horrible people. But what I am here to say is that these are the people that are not here every day. These are not the people that are here getting arrested every day. If not, I'm sorry. How many of you have gotten arrested within the past 4 months? 4 months. Within the past 4 months. So how are we here speaking about police brutality when the people that are actually getting brutalized are not here?
Also, how are you speaking about the SRG when the SRG has been deployed almost every week for the last year? But it's only been deployed on your protesters once. You didn't even
No,
follow up.
it was
Time
deployed
out.
on our
You didn't even
protesters
follow
last
up
year
later
as well.
in the evening when they came back? You didn't
There
follow
was a
up.
jail
You
support.
didn't
People
follow up
did
later
jail
in the
support
evening
for
when
Because
they
we're
came back,
because we
and you
we
didn't follow up
because
later at
we
jail
do
support.
not take responsibility for everything that happens in Washington Square
If you were
Park
going to
just
get
because
$40,000 in
our
funding, then you
march
should be allocating
ended
money
here.
to those issues.
We have had plenty of marches, and in this space, actually, the Stonewall protest had a beautiful, huge gathering at Astor Place. There was not one piece of garbage left on the floor because that organization made sure to have a cleaning team, made sure to invest in garbage bags, even though we did not get $40,000. So why was the park left so dirty after you finished
Because
your event
people
here?
kept partying until
And I don't wanna
12
just be
until after
speaking to you.
midnight.
I'd like to
Right. So
And
when you
we were
have,
not a part of
when you
that.
are in the community, when you are in the community and you have an event open to the community,
I'd
you
like to
are
also
making
speak to you
yourself
who was so
responsible
honorably
for that
mentioned.
community. So you
We
do
did not have an
support.
event in
And
the
if
park.
you
We had a
know-
march that
arrestees.
ended at the park.
What type of support and aftercare?
Yes,
do you provide
abolish
to
the police.
arrestees?
Yes,
You
that
have
they're right
many
about.
people- I would like you to answer two questions. One, why were you not there to provide support for aftercare and the arrestees? This absolutely is the right place. You called for a press conference.
I'm happy to have
My
this
second question
conversation.
is there have been people online demanding financial transparency. Why has your group not been coming forward with that?
We are working on
Where
it.
is the document?
It's coming.
I would like you to know that somebody already sent me your budget proposal document, so you are delaying making that
No,
public
we're not
for
delaying
your
it.
own purpose.
We've been busy. We've been busy
doing what? It's
responding.
an Excel spreadsheet.
Every
All you have to
single
do is
week.
press share.
We
All
march
you have to do is
every
press
We don't
share.
have your email
Before
addresses.
Then
Pride.
ask for it because we have been reaching out. And again,
No,
I'd like
you
to
haven't,
speak to the
because
most
it's happened.
honorably mentioned lady here. Why have you not provided aftercare and support for those who were arrested?
Because it was our understanding that that was being provided.
By the people who are their friends, not by your
Yes.
organization
Right, so why-
who has gotten
That's
money
so
allocated
responsibility.
for
Are you
these
kidding
things.
me? This is what's wrong.
You
This
worked
is
with the
problem.
police and then you provided no support.
We did not
afterwards.
work with the police.
You got a
That is a
permit,
lie.
did you
No,
not?
we did not.
we did not.
We absolutely no. That is a lie. You are telling a lie. We did not get a permit for
But
this
you
park.
do in 1 year, we do every
we
week.
had a permit to be here in
When was
Washington
the
Square
last time
Park.
you
That
got
was
Pride?
You
that
just
was
said you had a
arranged
permit.
last year
Before
before
Pride.
coronavirus hit New York City,
rescinded.
and
Still
and they
not
transferred
answering
it
the
to here.
question.
Listen,
Why
Because
were
we're
you
not
not
a-
compelled
Before
to
Pride, when was the last
aftercare
time you
and jail
marched?
support?
Before Pride.
Because we were informed that
Pride,
jail
when was the
support
last
had
time
already
you marched?
formed
That's
up
not
for
answering
them.
my question.
I-
You're
yes,
the
you
last
did.
time you marched. Why weren't you compelled as a person
I can tell you
after
when.
you
It was
called
last
the
Thursday
march?
in the Bronx.
Why
And then the
weren't
Thursday
you were,
before that,
wasn't
and then the
your
Thursday
heart
before that,
compelled
and then the
to
Thursday
show up
before
to
that.
jail support for the people that got abused by the police that your organization chose to work with?
Because personally, for me, I can only speak for myself.
Yes.
Because I was exhausted after
Okay,
being
I would
here.
like to hear your answer. I would like to hear your answer since you are so sprightly here and every year. I would like you to answer in front of the press conference that you called. Why was your heart not willing to go to jail support, to support the young children?
Gone to jail for decades.
The
I'm
founder
not
of
asking
Stonewall is
about the
here,
previous-
so just so you know.
I understand that.
What have
but
you
you're
done in-
not having, you're not having a productive conversation.
You're not answering the productive
No, and
questions.
I'm not going to answer the
One,
questions right
why
now.
hasn't there
If you
been
wanna
financial
bring an email,
transparency?
I'll be delighted to have it.
No, you called for cameras. I would like the answers here.
Could we continue with the? Can we take a question for the press?
But yes, abolish the police. That's the only thing they're right about. But there are other people doing the actual work every single week. Not on Pride, not every 3 months, not when we get 40K. There is people organizing, feeding the houseless, housing the people every single week. The Stonewall protest
What
on
you
all
do
media.
in
Thank
1
you.
year, we do every week.
Thank
And we clean up after ourselves, and we do jail support for people
And
that
those
didn't
kids
sign up
are
for an
being
email
arrested
list.
for that event.
The fact that you got money to work with police and provide no
We did not
support,
work with police. That is a lie.
release your financial
Yeah.
documents immediately. Disband your organization. You
We're
should
not
be
going.
ashamed
We're
of
not going to
yourself.
disband our organization.
What you do in
We
a
are going
year,
to
we do
keep.
every week.
And you're welcome to do that. We founded this organization for a very specific purpose, which is to create a very specific queer liberation march on Pride Sunday that was not chock full of police, that was not barricaded for its entire length, that was not suffused with corporate flags and floats and everything else, and that is what we
We
do.
marched right through your march. We
Yeah, I
marched
know.
right
Yeah,
through your march.
you made a decision
You
to
have
take
had
over.
a year. You have had a year
Yeah, and we
to
were
support
marching.
the Stonewall protest.
We did, and we did. We
You have had a
we
year
amplified your
to come
protest,
out. I
and
don't
we
care
came.
about
And
an
members
online
came out.
amplification.
I personally came
You have
out,
had a year
and
to
I
provide
personally
for
came
jail
out to
support.
many Stonewall support, and Joelle
I
can
would
tell
like
you
you to not
that.
be the only one answering. I do think that the most honorably mentioned
Anne has
woman
been
should be
answering.
answering. She has answered nothing.
I think it's time.
You are
to end
embarrassing.
this news.
You are embarrassing.
White people
You should be
represent
ashamed.
black
White people should not be given this type of power, this type of money. You should be ashamed. You had so much money. You could have
We did
cleaned
not
up
have
the
a
park.
we did not have
We
so
have
much money.
nothing, and we do events
What was
every
happening
week.
in the park went on until midnight.
We have nothing,
And
and
we're,
we do
folks,
events every week.
we're going to
You
close
have
the
no
press
excuse.
conference. Unfortunately, people with bad information
You have
are
no-
telling
this is not
lies,
bad
and we're going to
information.
end
Our
the press
healthcare
conference
will
now.
every week.
Thank you very
You'll
much.
find your information.
We are out
Thank you
here
very
doing this
much.
every
You'll
week.
find your information. You'll find who's telling the lies. Because the people that can pull these cameras are the ones doing the real work.
You
the
hit on
people
the
that are
rock
able
for
to
years.
invite all these
And now
people
you
here
think it's
and
bad
actually have them show up
information?
are not doing the work.
They spent $14,000 on posters. On posters. We feed people each week with a fraction of that. You should be ashamed. You should be ashamed.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I'm not
You should
ashamed.
be.
No.
We do jail support every week and we feed people every week. And you spent that much on posters.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? No. Thank you.
Thank you.